In example 2, we are going to focus our attention on evaluating expressions. The expression 9 and 99 hundredths D plus 12 and 99 hundredths C can be used to find the total cost of D pounds of almonds and C pounds of cashews. How much does it cost to buy 1 1/2 pounds of almonds and 2 1/2 pounds of cashews? For this question, we need to evaluate the expression 9 and 99 hundredths D plus 12 and 99 hundredths C, where the 9 and 99 hundredths stands for $9.99 for a pound of almonds. That's this number right up here in the picture. And the 12 and 99 hundredths stands for $12.99 for a pound of cashews. And you must multiply the cost and the pounds, that's this part right here, multiply your cost and your pounds in order to find out how much you've spent on almonds and how much you've spent on cashews. So the expression then shows addition between those two terms because you need to add them together to get the total cost. Then what we're going to do is look back to the problem to see exactly how much are we buying of each item. In this problem, we're buying 1 1/2 pounds of almonds, so you'll notice that that gets substituted here for the D. And we're buying 2 1/2 pounds of cashews, and that gets substituted here in place of C. So we're going to multiply the 9 and 99 hundredths D times 1 1/2, and here's what you get. And then we're going to multiply the 12 and 99 hundredths by 2 1/2, and this is what you get. And then we're going to add them together. Notice that there is no rounding here because we don't need to round once we get to the final answer. So it costs $47.46 to buy 1 1/2 pounds of almonds and 2 1/2 pounds of cashews. Remember to write all of this work near the problem so that you can see where the numbers came from and how we solved it. Now let's work on the try it question. The cost to rent a scooter is $15.50 per hour, and the cost to rent a watercraft is $22.80 per hour. Use the expression 15 5/10 S plus 22 8/10 W to determine how much it would cost to rent a scooter for 3 1/2 hours and a watercraft for 1 3/4 hours. So we're going to substitute in for S, the 3 1/2, and we're going to substitute in for W, the 1 3/4. And then we're going to solve that. So let's take a look at what that looks like over here on the side of your paper. So the first thing that I did is I took the expression and I rewrote it here, and notice that I kind of color-coded those variables to help us pick them out better. Then I substituted in place of S the number 3 1/2 here, and in place of the W the 1 3/4. Now, because these are two common fractions and we can change them into decimals pretty easily, we're going to go ahead and do that to make the multiplication easier to compute on the calculator. So we've got 15 5/10 times 3 5/10 plus 22 8/10, and we're going to multiply that by 1 75 hundredths. Now remember, to get the decimal from that fraction, you have to divide the 1/2. 1 divided by 2 gives you the 3 5/10, and the 1 3/4 is the same as 1, and then the 3/4 is 3 divided by 4, which is 75 hundredths. So now we're going to multiply. The cost of renting the scooter for 3 1/2 hours is $54.25, plus the cost of renting the watercraft is $39.90. 90 cents. Now remember, on the calculator, you might not see that extra zero at the end, and that's okay. You just need to make sure that you have that zero because you're talking about dollars and cents. And then the last step is add them together. So the total cost of renting a scooter for 3.5 hours and a watercraft for an hour, 1 3/4 hours, is $94.15. Example 3 has us doing a combination of writing and evaluating. So we're going to take what we've learned from example 1 and example 2 and put those two skills together in example 3. Malik and 2 friends earn M dollars in 1 week doing odd jobs. So M is the number of dollars that they earn. They split the earnings so that each friend gets 1/3 of the total earnings. Malik uses $32.50 of his earnings on lunch each week. So this is how much he uses of his earnings. Last week, the 3 friends earned $963. How much money did Malik have left after paying for lunch? Write an expression to represent how much Malik has left. Then evaluate the expression for the given value. So let's take a look at this expression and how we're going to determine how we write that expression. And the one thing that I notice is that each friend gets 1/3 of the total earnings because Malik and his friends share those earnings equally. So if M is the number of dollars that they've earned in total, and they each get 1/3, then Malik is going to get 1/3 of, multiplication, those earnings. 1/3 M. His other 2 friends are also going to get 1/3 M because they each will share the other 2/3 of that total. Then it tells us that Malik uses $32.50 of his earnings on lunch. So he spends $32.50. What kind of number is that going to be if he's spending it? That's going to be a negative $32.50. So now when we put those two parts together, Malik has earned 1/3 M and he has spent $32.50. So when we put those two parts together here, that's what that looks like. You get 1/3 M, that's the amount he's earned. Okay, that's the amount earned. Take away the $32.50, which is what he spent. Okay, so those two components make up the expression. Now we're going to evaluate that expression for the value 963, because that is going to be the M number of dollars that they earned last week. So when I substitute in the $963 in place of the M, I multiply that times 1/3. Don't forget that 1/3 times 963 is the same as taking 963 times 1 and then divide it by 3. And when you do that, you get 321. Now you're going to take that 321 and you're going to subtract, oops, let me change my pen color here. There we go. We're going to subtract the $32.50, which is what he's already spent on those lunches, and that's where you get the $288.50. So that's how much money Malik has left after he's paid for lunch from his earnings. Let's work on the try it question. Amelia earns $8.74 per hour. We're going to call hours H. Plus, oh, I see a word there that's going to tell me an operation. Plus, she gets a gas allowance of $3.50 per day at her job. In other words, she gets an extra $3.50 for gas. So she earns $8.74. Let me make that correction here. Okay, $8.74 times the number of hours she works, H, plus she gets an extra $3.50. How much does Amelia's job pay in a day when she works 5 1/2 hours? So that's the H number that we're going to evaluate. But the first thing that we had to do was we had to translate the words from the story into an expression. So here's your expression right here. Okay. Now we're going to take that expression and we're going to substitute in place of H, we're going to put 5 1/2. Put it in decimal form. So 5 5/10. And then we're going to use our order of operations, which says we have to first multiply the $8.70. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 74 cents, isn't it? Hang on, let me correct that. Let's do that before we move on. There we go. Okay, so we're going to take $8.74 times the 5 1/2 hours that she worked, and she gets $48.07 for her work that day. But don't forget, she gets that extra $3.50 for her gas allowance. And when you add that together, that means that Amelia has earned $51.57 for that day.